Hello and welcome to another round of this series we seem to be doing for quite some time, which is Team Antipatterns and what can you do about it? Now today we're covering something that it may be rather broad. Think about when there is a lack of ruthless prioritization and where we may end up working on very low value to no value tasks. I call this the anti-pattern reactive rather than proactive. So there you go. How do you know that this may be happening? Few things, and this is not an exhaustive list, but here are some indicators that may be a sign that this being reactive or proactive is a sign, it's creeping in. First is task switching. Think about the anti-pattern of starting over finishing, right? We start a lot of different things when we, in fact, know that there is only value on finished items that are in use. So careful with task switching. Another indicator is goals missed. We have way too many open fronts. Increased defects or increased bugs, right, means that the quality is affected, and that's another indicator. We can see that trend. Another indicator is our lack of flow, and you can see this on start and stop, start and stop. And the last one I want to mention is the indicator of unplanned work. Unplanned work without critically evaluating when something comes up. Things will change, things will bubble up, and that's fine, but if we don't evaluate critically, that has its dangers. Now, with the presence of these behaviors, you would definitely benefit from prompting the team so that we help them to reflect, we help them to consider ways, we help us to reevaluate when all these sort of things arise. And for that, I like to bring the section of questions in this series. Powerful, yet very simple questions that's going to help us to reflect. They act as a poke to open possibilities, to open our mind, and ultimately to serve the team. So questions in this reactive over proactive to have in your back pocket, maybe helpful, could be, when something comes up, does it have to be done? Does it have to be now? Does it have to be me? Us? Or what is hindering us from finishing? What's stopping us from finishing items before we start others? What's coming on the way? What would it take to say no? What would it take to defer? To delegate? And last question for today on the matter. What is one thing that would allow us to triage as a group this week? Let's try something. What will be one thing we can try out and see what happens? Now, we know how to spot it. We have some indicators. We know how to poke. We got some questions. Now, the last section that we cover in this series is all about antidotes. Right? How do we ease the pickle that we have at hand? Here are some ideas. First, the magical daily stand-up. Now, daily stand-up can be super powerful. It's essentially a touch point every day, same place and time, and it's there to help align the team and maintain us focused toward the sprint goal. So please don't take dailies for granted. They may just need a little bit of brush off when some facilitator skills, but dailies can be great enablers. Don't let them fall into the routine. Another antidote is limits. For example, you might have heard this idea of work in progress. WIP limits. And that essentially acts to restrict the number of tasks, or use a story or call it however, product backlog items that the team members can work simultaneously. When we get to that amount of in progress, open, non-finished items, then we stop and rethink. How can we swarm to get them through that value path, that flow, favoring finishing over starting? Another one that I see working really well as an antidote is time blocking, where team members allocate specific time slots for focused work without interruptions. And that's a bliss. And it really helps to get into a flow and tackle deep, hard challenges. Few more antidotes. How about rotate facilitators? Maybe assign different team members to facilitate the different sprint sessions so that you can avoid dominance for a single individual. You can encourage different approaches, different variations of how to conduct the different meetings. Even tap into somebody external that can help you to facilitate. You will see rhythm changes, shake up the status quo, great things can happen. Another antidote is the definition of done. Yes. And that's across all the work that the team tackles. The definition of done is across all the different things. What is the gap between functionality being there and the ability to actually use it in a live environment? And that exists to ensure that the work is completed in a very consistent standard. So there is no need to go back and forth and revisit things. We know when something is done. Last but not least is always monitor. So you saw your indicators, you spot when this pickle is appearing. Now measure and address. What are the patterns of concern? Now, really addressing these reactive versus proactive can lead to a more efficient, more robust, more pleasant behavior, and ultimately have fun and drive continuous improvement within the team. My question to you now is, what have you seen that works well when tackling this very common anti-pattern? Your turn. Pop it in the comments. I see you very soon.